Good evening. Welcome to episode 20 of About the Cards podcast live tonight
Don't fuck it up.
here on YouTube as we're live. As always, with host Ben Wilson at our trading cards, Stefan Loeffler at Junkwax Twins. I'm Tim Shelper at Big Shep 79. We are a podcast by collectors for collectors, and we hope to bring you a smart and insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. here on YouTube, but it's Thursday again, second Thursday in a row, but we'll get back to Wednesdays next week. You can always follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. You can catch the show on iTunes and Stitcher as well. And, God, a little humbled tonight, a little saddened. Last night getting ready to head out trick-or-treating and get a message across the phone that Willie Stretch McCovey, Giants legend, first baseman, passed away at the age of 80. Had some health issues. And since why I'm wearing my Giants orange bill hat that he donned quite often late in his career. And also, too, guys, the passing of Paul Zimmerman, Dr. Z. You remember him from Sports Illustrated back when we were growing up. He was their voice. He was their Peter King before Peter King. And I always loved his mock drafts. And that's how I really got listening or into the NFL draft, was reading his columns every year. So off to a little sad note, but dedicate the show to both Willie McCovey, one of the most underrated players maybe in MLB history, and a great writer, and Paul Zimmerman. And how are we doing tonight?
Longtime Royal A and Senator Bill Fisher also passed.
That's correct, yes. So I guess that's our three. So starting the show off on a sad note, we're going to talk about some cards and have some fun. So Ben, how have you been, buddy?
Been doing good. Hey, it's been a long week with Halloween. I think all the parents out there are kind of suffering from this. Had to stay up late yesterday, quick evening, get home, put your kids in costumes, send them to some strangers' houses, get some candy. So I despise Halloween.
Well, hey, some people I think took you up on your suggestion about passing out cards. I saw a handful of people. One collector in particular was putting them in sandwich bags and handing out some this year's football.
I don't think I was the first one to come up with it, but
no.
Anybody who's out there listening that might not have thought of it before. I saw on Facebook a couple of people put like actual boxes out there with their candy, the ones that kind of put their candy on their doorstep for people to come by. Somebody had like some old 1990s hockey.
I've seen a few packs as well being tossed.
Yeah. My question is so listen, I just want to make sure this is something I need a therapist for, but my mom saw something on this video on Facebook or whatever, where a kid goes up and he's trick-or-treating, and somebody had taken they left the candy bowl out, and somebody had taken all the candy. So this kid went up and was a little disappointed and realized, he walks away and he goes back up a few minutes later and empties his bag and refills their bowl.
Right.
But my mom's showing her friend this, and her son and I were really close growing up. She said, your son Bo would have been that kid. My son Tim would have gotten some eggs and egged their house. So it's true, but I feel bad that my mom thinks that poorly of me.
She just knows you really well.
That's probably true.
Right. Hey, that's my kid.
And I told her, I was like, you're the one that raised me, so.
See, your mom is the one that has the bumper sticker on her car that says, my kid beats up your honor roll student.
Yeah, even though I would have been on the honor roll, I would still would have beat up a lot of those kids just for fun.
Why can't you have both? Have your kid and you too.
Yeah. So, Steph, how are you doing, bud? I know last week you'd done the move and had a long week, and it sounds like you got a little sniffles as well, huh?
I did. I rolled straight into a week where I'm sick, so I need tonight to go perfect.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
And it'd be about the only thing gone right in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, trust me, it's been a long week for me. I was excited for the show tonight to get to talk to my buddies and to all of you, and I kind of missed the Wednesday thing. I think maybe that's why I'm a little bit of a funk, but we'll be back next Wednesday, and we're gonna hop into the week that was last week's releases and Topps Living, the last week of October, week 33. We had card number 69, 79, 97. Good Lord, Tim. 97. Chris Sale. Pitcher for the championship World Series winning Boston Red Sox. Sold just over 4,600. Was card 90 or 78 out of 99 on the popularity scale there. Card 98, Dominic Smith, rookie first baseman of the Mets, sold just over 4,000. And Ender Inciarte was card number 99, the outfielder for the Braves, sold over 4,200. He was the 88th most popular card. Going back, Dominic Smith was 92 out of 99. Last week we only sold 12,900 cards, which was the 32nd best week out of 33, which means it's damn near the last, because that first week was not the best. So we're out to a total print run of just over 716,000 actually now. But guys, I told you it was gonna be a bad week, and it was terrible. I'm glad about that Dom Smith though. That's all I gotta say. When you have Evan Gaddis, who sold like in the 3,300s, and he's selling like for $50-$60 a card, and Dom Smith at least has the rest of his, still was a rookie this year. No, I mean, not the best, but we'll see. But thoughts on this last week, guys?
Yeah, it's more curious cases where, like, do you hope that you picked it up and that it's going to be lower if the set actually does continue for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades, which good luck. But or is it just one of those that's just going to be a set fodder where it's not a major name or anything, but I mean, you got a card. Congrats.
Yeah. There's so much artificial market here. You saw that the day after Gaddis is released, he goes from selling for $5 a pop to $10 in the morning, and then by the end of the day, 10 hours later, our friend Jenny says, now he's listed for 30, and I was like, are people just listing him that, or is I didn't do the homework myself? And she's like, no, actually, one person bought him for 30, and it's like, if he wasn't worth $5 yesterday, he's not worth 30 today, just because only 4,000 people thought he was worth that amount. I think we were all on the same boat last week, or prior to when that got released, that Sale wasn't going to do all that well. He should hit Kershaw numbers, which he fell short of. But at the end of the day, we were all kind of on the same page that it was probably going to be the worst week we had seen thus far.
Yeah.
Bum. No,
I mean, he was way far off from. I mean, he was 1,200 less than Kershaw.
Yeah.
But he's got the Kershaw doesn't. World Series ring.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this, but the LA on the Dodgers hat, it stands for lost again.
Yeah.
No,
they designed that specifically.
Semi off color joke I saw about that.
Oh God.
Well, at least Willie McCovey got to see the Dodgers lose again.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
We should all, speaking about, just real quick, I thought on McCovey, we should all be so lucky. I mean, I'm sure his life wasn't the greatest, growing up in Alabama as a person of color. And I'm sure he has all of his demons and stuff, but he had a phenomenal career, and he's revered by everybody in San Francisco with McCovey Cove and the statue outside the AT&T Park. I mean, he lived 80 years. I mean, he probably didn't leave a whole bunch on the table, so we all should be so lucky.
Well,
and,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we were lucky enough, even for us younger guys, we didn't get to see him play, but we get to watch all of his highlights of his career. And, man, when you look back on his career, he had a special one.
Oh, he did. And the thing is that a lot of Giants fans here when I say here in San Francisco, they look to him as their guy, not Mays. Mays may be more popular, but he came from the New York Giants. McCovey was their first star. He came up in 59, the second here or there. The man won the Rookie of the Year playing 51 games. This is when they played 144 games. He played 51.
154.
154, I'm sorry.
Well, see, and the thing, too, is that he's the reason that Cepeda got traded to St. Louis.
Yep.
Because they had two first basemen, no DH yet in either league back when they played in the 60s. They tried Cepeda out in left field, and that didn't work, so they stuck McCovey out in left field. And that worked for a while till his knees gave out, and it was like, all right, well, one of these guys have to go. And McCovey was the beloved one, and sorry, Cepeda, and they didn't get much out of him when they traded him to St. Louis. But yeah, I mean, Cepeda was another big name that fell prey to the fact that McCovey was better.
Yeah. So last week we also had 2018 Topps Update Series that came out. 2018 Topps Archives. We had 18 Panini Prism Football, 18-19 NBA Hoops, and then the full-sized Leaf autographed helmets. So this week's new releases, hot off the press here, Topps Living. We got to card 100.
And
Everybody thought it was going to be like Trout. We're in week 34 now. It was not. It was another semi-decent outfielder. This being a Yankee, of course. He's the 7th Yankee. Babe Ruth. Card 101, Sandy Alcantara, rookie pitcher for the Miami Marlins. He's the 3rd Marlin. And guys, guess what? Card 201, Victor Martinez, DH, Detroit Tigers.
Are you a little dyslexic tonight? Card 102, not 201.
There we go. I told you it's been a long week. 102, Victor Martinez, DH, Detroit Tigers, our 2nd Tiger.
Not who we would have predicted, but okay.
By the way, have you noticed the run on DHs we've had the last few weeks? I mean, Sandy Alcantara is the one that makes this week, right?
Sure.
This week, I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, Ruth's gonna sell because that's Ruth. This is a terrible week.
Yeah.
Victor Martinez is non-collectible. We talked about him in the Hall of Really Good a few weeks ago. I don't know what other Tiger you could have put in there.
Victor Martinez had one yet? Sorry.
No, you could add Cabrera, obviously. I think that's who Steph was searching for.
Thank you.
Brandon Inge.
So, obviously, there was some conversation. Somebody mentioned on Twitter today that they thought that Ruth was going to be the number 1 seller when this is all said and done. And
well, it's easy with these guys.
It's like no, not in comparative. I'm talking about overall.
Oh, hell, he's not getting close to Acuna.
Acuna hit 43, right? 41, 43.
I'll get the number.
My thought was Ruth is going to show a strong high teens, possibly jump into the 20s. The ceiling I have for him personally is around 25. I think when all is said and done, he sells in the 18 to 19 range.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of waning excitement about this product. And now that the season is over, we're going to start to see over the next, 6 to 8 weeks how the offseason is going to affect this type of a set.
So Acuna sold 46,809.
So he sold 47. See, I thought he had sold 43. There's no way Ruth touches that.
The most a retired player has sold was Jackie Robinson at 13,147. The next closest was Hank Aaron at a little over 11,000. We got Derek Jeter, Ted Williams, and Clemente all got in the 10,000 range. Besides, everybody else has kind of been ho-hum. So
let me ask you this. I don't want to trump something we're going to discuss later in the show, but is Babe Ruth even the most collectible retired Hall of Famer of all time? I mean, when you're just looking at that group, I mean, we could argue that when Mantle finally gets dropped,
he won't. Though. That's the problem.
Well,
Mantle's not going to ever be in the set.
Along the set run.
You're talking about a long time, right? So maybe Topps doesn't have the rights to the Mantle name right now, but
you can put Mike Mantle.
They can always put him in a off jersey or something like that. I mean, hey, he was banned from baseball for a while, whole year. But if Mantle ever gets dropped, I think Mantle is going to surpass every Hall of Famer.
Of who they have access to, Ruth, you think that Ruth and maybe Willie Mays are the top 2 Hall of Famers, living or dead, that collectability?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've already had 2 really, really big retired Hall of Fame names in Ted Williams and Jackie Robinson.
Right.
What makes us think that Ruth is going to come close to Acuna? He's going to be lucky to hit half of 47, honestly.
He's going to be lucky to break 12,000.
Yeah, if he hits 23.5, I'd be shocked. I honestly think he'll finish in the 18-19 range, and that might be high.
Yeah, I mean, Alcantara and Martinez. I mean, if Martinez breaks 4,000, I'll be really surprised. And the same with Alcantara. He was in every product. I don't know really what he did this season, if he did anything at all.
I think the new norm for a while, guys, with some of these guys are going to be Gaddis and these two Martinez and Alcantara are going to show us that 38 to 42 is going to be that's probably going to be the new cap.
Alcantara, 6 games, 6 started, 2-3 with a 3.44 ERA.
Not too bad.
30 strikeouts.
Yeah, that definitely warrants a inclusion in a living set.
Yeah, but what I can tell you is you look at all the rookie all the guys they included as rookies in the Topps base set, and the guys they haven't had in the first, in Series 1 and 2, if those guys haven't popped in living, they're going to pop over the offseason, especially Series 1, because those guys were in everything.
Right.
Everything.
And looking at his stats, it's kind of one of those players that you'd expect to see out of an update set.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Miguel Gonzalez for the Giants to get one because, he didn't play at all. And, he has rookie cards and everything this year. So we have 2018 Topps high-tech baseball that came out, not to get confused with Bowman that came out a few weeks ago. 120 box it's one pack. It's 40 cards a pack. It's thick. like Ben, it's thick.
There it is. Hey. All the men on this show have a little bit of meat. That's all.
Yes. Well, some are stretched out. I know. Maybe, yeah. Box break, 2 autographs, 4 serial numbered base cards or inserts, 10 rainbow foil, 3 magma diffractors. So anyway,
can I mention something real quick on high tech?
Whose names? 2 orb diffractors, 1 Galactica diffractor. 8 pattern 2 cards, 6 pattern 6 pattern 3 cards, 4 pattern 4 cards. I'm sorry for all these numbers. I'm looking at this. I wrote this earlier. It still doesn't make any sense to me. There's a lot of patterns. There's a lot of stuff in that thick 40 card pack you're gonna get.
You would almost think that Dwight Schrute came up with the names, Battlestar Galactica, because some of the orb diffractors.
Yeah.
One thing to keep an eye on for anybody that's listening that plans to collect Topps high tech, be extremely careful when you're searching eBay, because I didn't have my team checklist in front of me, so I just did a Topps high tech newly listed and started going down the checklist, or the newly listed cards, and a lot of people are listing 28 Bowman high tech Topps in their searches. So be careful that the difference between your Bowmans and your Topps, because there's a lot of eBay sellers that are either intentionally or not trying to deceive. It could be a mistake.
Good look to this differentiating any of this. So there's 112 base cards, right? There's 4 patterns for each base card. And then on top of that, so there's those, they have pattern 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
But the NL and the AL each have different patterns at 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, yeah.
The other thing, too, is I went back and collected some Mark McGuire's from years past, and it's hard to know because people put, box pattern, but it's the cube pattern. So I've bought duplicates, especially if you're buying on sport lots because you're not aware of, you can't see the pictures. You got to be careful of it because you might buy the same card twice because people don't know what to call them.
Well, and there's also, so each pattern has at least 4 parallels. Of course. So there's 4 patterns with at least 4 parallels. Some had more. There's 6 autograph sets and 3 insert sets in this guy. We've talked a lot. It's neat looking. Don't get me wrong. It's nothing I'm running out to the store to put in. I got in a couple breaks at Bowman High Tech, and I got a couple of autos for the Royals out of that. They had one guy and Nick something or other, and I ended up with 2 or 3 of those autos out of one break. But I don't know.
I like the acetate cards. I think they're sharp, but again, we talked about this. I think when Bowman released that, there's no reason to have a Bowman and a Topps at all.
There's really not.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, and the fact that they have so many different patterns and so many sellers are confused as to what patterns are considered base. And when you're trying to complete a team set and you want all the same pattern, it's so convoluted and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's like you're confusing us to the point where we're just going to get pissed off and not buy it. So thanks, Topps.
Also this week, 2017-18 Panini Flawless Basketball came out yesterday. Guys, I think this is the last one. unfortunately. A box is only going to cost you like $2,500 right now, but they're going up to like $4,000. You're going to get 1 pack per box, 10 cards per pack. You're going to get 7 autos, 1 mem card. You're going to get 1 additional hit, which is in the autograph for a mem card. And you're also going to get 1 diamond card. There's a base set of 100 cards, all numbered to 20 or less, with 4 parallels. There's also a base short print gem set. So this is neat, though. They have a triple double gem card, and it's players who are known for triple doubles. So like Westbrook, the Big O are on there. There's also top of the class, so those are number 1 overall picks. Most valuable, those are past MVPs, and then champions, which are definitely players who won titles.
But couldn't you done that on 18-19?
No, because then you can have the 17 rookie class.
Yes.
See, it's
I stopped legitimately, guys. Stop counting at 25. There's 25 plus autograph sets. You have the logo man autos, and you also have RPAs. There's 5 plus BEM sets with championship tags, and what I think are cool, the sponsorship tags. So you know some of those teams have sponsorships, like the Magic have Disney, the Bucks have Harley Davidson, the Kings have Blue Diamond. It was like about half the teams last year had them, and so those logos are actually in the cards. And so I could see some people beyond card collectors, Disney folks, Harley Davidson guys, that may be interested in a little bit of cards, a little bit of wanting to get a game-worn patch with that logo on there.
It's so hard. It's so hard to draw a market segment in like that, though. I mean, it's possible.
No, I know. Yeah, it's possible. I'm just saying though, there's those people that are into both, that are card collectors that have a Harley. All that, I'm not even a Bucks fan, but God, I want a Harley logo.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, I might grab a Bucks card.
Now, I watched some breaks with Mojo, and I listened to them talk about it. And this is really this year, like the middle part of the cards. You're getting guys like Eric Snow. We're getting a lot of like really mid-level guys from the set from the 80s and 90s in there. And yeah, of course, there's that big chase element. But this is really, I think, the one where you want to get in a box break and maybe not be the one that shells out the big dollars to buy a box or a case of it. Flawless is really nice. I mean, they have those gem cards, which are cool. They have all these are all on card autographs. The RPAs are very valuable. So it is kind of what it is. You're going to get, it's all boom or bust, I think, in this product.
Yeah. Well, and the more we cater to the box breaking, the more products like this with all these stupid. I mean, we got triple threads coming out soon, where it's just like the checklist is literally pages upon pages and pages of, how many Jose Canseco and LeBron James and pick your sport and pick your player. How many of those do we need?
As many as we can get, Ben. You've said
That's
this
right.
about Mark McGuire cards before. Yeah, so Ben leads us into what's brewing next week's releases. 2018 Topps Triple Threads comes out in November, which we were talking earlier. Kind of odd, right? Because this is usually an early summer release, if I'm not mistaken.
Generally, April, May.
Yeah, and then we also have 18-19 Panini Donruss Basketball coming out. So a little light week next week. We were going to talk Stranger Things that got released yesterday in retail, but we're going to hold off. It doesn't get released to hobby until November 23rd. So we'll hold off on a little bit on that.
But Triple Threads last year released 9/20/2017.
Okay.
Really? So it's gotten later progressively. It used to, if I'm not mistaken, like 2015, 2016, seemed like a late spring, first part of the summer release.
Yeah. It was kind of, I thought it was always between series 1 and 2. It was one of those first real big ones they would, put out.
Yeah, and then they kind of pushed it back when Museum came out. But it was always like around, March, April. I remember it releasing fairly early. Like it was the first, because it was competing with like Museum. Now it's competing with 5-Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just been a lot in the last couple of weeks. We're going to move on to Infield Chatter, our hobby talk section. So we have a few topics tonight. As we've talked, we're huge fans of Topps Living, and we've talked about them doing things with the artwork. And this week they announced that the Topps Living set was going to have lithographs. They were going to have fine art prints. Currently, they have the first 5 cards on there. Judge, card 1, Judge Aaron Judge. Card 2, Joe Panic. 3 was Nicholas Castellanos, which was the first Tiger, and so it took him 34 weeks to give us another Tiger. Just note that.
Okay.
Number 4 was Reese Hoskins, and number 5 was Ian Happ. Now they had one of one artist signed, and they were going for $500 to $1,000. And I can tell you that Joe Panic was not $1,000. That was Aaron Judge. And then they also have ones numbered to 100 that aren't autographed. They're running from 30 to 65, which are available on the top site. Guys, what are your thoughts of them selling the quote artwork?
I think it was almost inevitable. With the set doing seemingly well, maybe not up to their standards as compared to the first few weeks or even the first month or two. Something like this has been kind of brewing in that Topps kind of likes to try to do these sets on their online ordering site, not like as an official release, boxed release, but they'll have, numbered to 49, numbered to 99, numbered to 150, art proof type sets. They've done it for the past few years, and I was kind of waiting on it. So I'm not really too surprised at all. I mean, I don't think any of us are we?
No, and this is the perfect set for this. I mean, they release all the 5x7 sets and 8x10s and stuff throughout the year, throughout different things. I mean, if you were going to have a set you were going to create an 8x10 lithograph of, I mean, would you have anything better than a 1953 Topps card?
1987.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we all love the 87, but just the artwork on 57, or excuse me, 53, other than maybe 52, but I don't think 52 would display on the wall quite as well, even though it's more legendary than 53.
55 and 56 would, in that they're landscape portrait mode.
I love
not a big
56
fan of landscape cards. I'm sorry, I don't care. I think landscape. Not a huge fan.
I'm not, but those two sets are gorgeous.
Not unless you're doing it like 55 and 56, where it's the entire set.
Yeah.
When you have 12 cards and you're a team collector, and you're putting a team set in there and there's one that's sideways, it's like, come on, are you stupid? I mean, it does not display well. But 55 and 56, you can get the 8 pocket sheets, and they display well as a set in a binder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm probably going to try to grab the Henderson. I will stay away from the other 4 A's that have been released once they come around, assuming that it lasts that long.
Well, it's cheap. It's cheaper to buy a Panic fine art version than it is to get an actual card of his.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be one where that somebody asked on Twitter today, do you think anybody's going to try to grab the entire set? And I'm like, because I mean, they are reasonably priced, but come on, I mean, they're $30 to $50. You know, if you just go for the ones out of 100. If that's all you collect, sure.
Yeah. Got to collect it all, though, Ben. We need it all.
You do.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I just hope they don't start to bastardize this and then we have the gold bordered autographed ones, and then we have a silver, and then we have tarnished metal, and then ultra black galaxy.
But
chromium.
This is the loophole, boys.
Yeah.
This is it. We're not going to do any chrome parallels of the cards. We're just going to do it. All the rest of the stuff.
Real quick shout out, thanks to Music Fan 87 for just subscribing to our channel. Right, exact second.
That was me.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thanks for
Thanks for being a supporter of our show, Steph.
Yep.
Also, there's something interesting that we would talk about earlier in the week. ComC tweeted out this earlier. Do serial numbers such as the first 1 out of 25 or the last print run 25 out of 25, as well as a jersey number, say like a Jeter 2 out of 25, warrant significant markup on card price?
Warrant? No. Do they? Yes.
Okay, so what would be a fair increase to charge a premium? So if there was a card like an autographed Mauer that was 7 out of 25, and he wore 7, I mean, would you rather have the 7 out of 25 and spend $50 for that, or have 6 out of 25 and spend half that price?
Well, so for personal collection, my Ryan Eads set, I've intentionally bought numbered to 37 out of 50 or numbered to 37 out of 100 autographed card, paying 10-20% up because it's the jersey number card. over the regulars in the set that I paid, a quarter of the price. Do I like it? No. Should it really matter all that much? No. But so Topps has a thing, and they've said this at the Nationals, that they don't always release all 100 of a card. They keep some for damaged stuff. They keep some for this, that, or anything else. Redemptions doesn't come through. Hey, they have one on hand. They'll eventually scrap them. But so say they only release in a fraction of the 50 that they release. You going to tell me that it's not coincidental that that jersey number gets released?
Sure.
Number 1 doesn't get released. Number 25 of 50 doesn't get released.
Somebody asked Tanner, our friend Tanner Jones, who was the Canseco super collector, if he prefers collecting Canseco's number 33 out of, and he said no, because as it is, it's crazy enough. And he said he actually tries to avoid them because once you buy one, then you have to buy them all. And the only 2 times that I would ever, if assuming that everything's equal, and I think Stefan's on point with the 10 to 20% your cap. If it's a $10 card, I'm not paying more than an extra couple of bucks for a specific number. The only time that I've bought something specific was like triple threads where they number it out of 9, 18, 27, and 36. My birthday being July 18th, I have bought cards that are 7, 18, as well as I bought the first in a print run of 125, because my anniversary is January 25th. And so I always joke with my wife that I find that kind of funny because now these cards are reminders of the date.
Yeah.
And likewise, I bought number 9 of 27, and my birthday is September 27th.
Now, I bought a triple threads card a few years back of Jackie Robinson that was numbered 42 out of 50, I want to say.
Now, see that.
Or 42, I think it might have been 42 out of 99. And I got a really good deal on it. And I needed to buy some stuff, and I didn't have a lot of liquid money at the time. And so I ended up putting it up on eBay for $142.42, thinking that was a stupid price for it. And somebody offered me $115 specifically because it was numbered 42. And it's like, sold?
Yeah. I remember I picked up an autographed bat card, and it was out of an Upper Deck product. I'm in like the late 90s, early 2000s, a few years ago. And it was out of 2000. I didn't really think anything about it. Got it, and I looked, and it was numbered 1985 out of 2000. And that's the year they won the World Series. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But I'm not one that seeks it out.
No, I think any of us would. Yeah, all things being equal, I think we'd all grab a specific number if it was all available.
Sure.
But, and I bought cards out of 25, and then I get them there, and they're number 1. I'm like, oh, sweet, honey, look. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, no, that's I don't know. I think it's just, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, if I have a card that's jersey number, I'm going to sell that, make the extra premium on it, and then turn around and rebuy the card that's not, and still be just as happy. You know what's funny is when I pulled the Soto auto out of Update, the first thing I did is I looked at that number to see what it was out of, and it was out of 99, and then I looked and said, oh, God, is it 22 out of 99? No, it was 28 out of 99.
Well, and that's, not that I was ever going to sell it anyway, but when I pulled my huge Ruth hit, am I lying that it wouldn't be even that much cooler if I would have got 3 of 10? Yeah, sure. But am I depressed that I got number 2 of 10?
Yes. No. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, kind
of. We were going to talk about Topps Living tonight, the number of cards that were printed. I'm sorry, Topps Now. The number of cards are printed in the postseason. And when I tried to count, the internet shut down and my computer started to smoke as I was adding the numbers up. I just want to talk about in general. I don't have the exact number, but it was astronomical, guys. Have you looked through the Topps Living just for the postseason?
No, I brought this up as a potential talking point because when the A's made the playoffs, you buy your postseason set, and then you're guaranteed 1 additional card for free per round that they advance to. And when the A's got eliminated, of course, I didn't get any additional cards, but I was just thinking, I scroll through Topps emails every day, and I click on it just to double check and make sure there's no A's that they've snuck in there, or this guy did something that surpassed this guy, and there have been Jimmy Fox and Reggie Jackson cards because David Ortiz passed them. So technically, they're Red Sox cards, and my word, you've got 8 cards of the Red Sox that this guy did this and this guy did that, and I'm like,
David Price blew his nose in the third inning.
yeah, even if $5 a piece, if you're buying them on eBay, it's ridiculous because you're buying this not one day, you're buying upwards of 15 different days, even on the days the team's lost. Oh, this guy hit a 3-run home run to tie it. Big whoop,
Yeah.
It's like it's ridiculous.
Yes. No, definitely. It's definitely insane. The one thing I want to say that it's neat. I like the fact that they're kind of keeping a history for everybody, and if it's your team, you're definitely into it because I know like when your team goes and like wins a World Series or something, you want to buy all that stuff. And trust me, when the Giants won in 2010, I bought a lot more stuff than I did in 12 or 14, especially 14 because they beat the Royals. And even like the Royals won in 15, I didn't buy as much. But the one card they missed out on was a first pitch card, which I hope is in flagship next year, was Eckersley and Kirk Gibson.
Right.
Now, I know Gibby's got some health things, but God, he looked pretty good. An X out there, and it just was amazing to see these two gentlemen that had one of the biggest moments in sports history.
Yeah, which transcends the sport.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the brake lights as the ball's leaving Chavez Ravine, and they're just driving away because Dodger fans are Dodger fans. They left a World Series game early, and Gibby comes hobbling out. It's a story. I mean, it's a Disney movie. If someone wrote this, I would laugh at them. And they had that awesome moment, I don't think there was a Topps Now card of it, right?
Don't think there was. No.
How?
And that's the thing is, you're making so many of them. Why not one?
Why not that one?
That literally is iconic. I mean, if you're talking about, if you ask people our age, anywhere from say 25 to 55, to name the top 10 most iconic baseball moments, just baseball. I can almost guarantee you that one's going to make every single list. You're going to get Dent's home run. You're going to get Reggie's 3 home runs. You're going to get maybe Jeter's throw out of Giambi at home plate. Who knows what everybody would select, but I almost guarantee you that one's making it. And now if we move to famous sports moments, Jordan over Russell in the play or the finals,
flu game.
The game,
the flu game, and again, I bet you if you talk to people that follow all of the sports, name your top 10 sports moments of the last 4 decades. Most people are going to put that on there anyway.
Yeah,
it's that iconic.
That's up there with Fisk.
Yeah,
if not higher.
Yeah, but it's in that moment. Like you can say like Fisk's home run. You can say Gibson's home run, and somebody knows exactly. He had a couple hundred home runs. People know exactly what home run you're talking about. And he's a Detroit Tiger. Really, like Kirk Gibson, deep down inside, even though he played for the Dodgers and he played for the Royals, and he went back to the Tigers. He's a Detroit Tiger, but his biggest moment of his career is a pinch hit home run as a broken down LA Dodger.
It's infamous. Everybody knows the Eckersley look as he's looking over his shoulder.
God, I love that home run.
Kirk Gibson going around the bases, with his, and I thought Eckersley handled it with class on Twitter, congratulating him on the 30-year anniversary.
Yep.
These two men are tied together, and yeah, it deserves. It's an iconic sports moment. Even though my favorite team was on the wrong side of that one,
was the best part.
It's one of those things like when you're starting a commercial about the baseball postseason and you're showing things of yesteryear, guess what's on there? They're showing 7 to 10 clips, and guess what? That's going to be on there.
Yeah. And real quick, did you guys stay up and watch the doubleheader that they played that on Friday night where they played 18 innings?
I fell asleep in the 15th.
So we went out for dinner, came home, and I'd missed most of the game. I turned on the 9th, and I get a full another game to watch.
No, that was the night that we had to pack everything all super late, and we got home at like 2, 3 in the morning, and it's like, oh shit, the game just ended.
Yeah.
I'm diabetic, and so that means frequent trips to the restroom like a grandpa in the middle of the night. And I fell asleep at the end of the 15th, and for whatever reason, I literally had to get out of bed right as Max Muncy was swinging. So I'm rolling out of bed, and they're like, "This one go in the distance." And I'm just like, "This stupid game is still on."
Yeah.
I'm like looking at the clock, thinking it is 3:30 in the morning in Boston. You know, I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, "All right, so." We just mentioned the Gibson play. I was 9 years old. I'm sitting on my couch. The A's have this mega monster team. We're going to crush the Dodgers, and Eckersley comes into that game, and we won. There's no way that this injured Gibson's going to hit a home run off of Eckersley in his .63 ERA.
Yeah.
And it's an iconic moment for me. Well, guess what, folks? The Boston Red Sox fans aren't going to be able, the little ones, the 9-year-olds, aren't going to have that moment because those games were ending at 12, 1, 2, 3:30 in the morning.
I feel so sorry for the tortured Boston.
Yeah.
No titles in recent years.
True. I mean, that's that they've had a team 12 of the last 18 years fighting for a championship between the four sports.
Yeah.
And they've won quite a few of them.
But, world's tiniest symbol.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it's hard. Baseball's going to have to figure something out. I know This is a different topic maybe for another day, but you can't have these games ending at 3:30 in the city in which one of the two teams is playing.
All I gotta say is it's not the pace of play. If you noticed, these guys are all trying to launch the ball and hit home runs to win the game.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure this is like the lowest rated World Series in several years.
It is the lowest rated one since the Mets and the Royals played.
You have this iconic matchup of two of the most iconic franchises in the history of maybe any sport. And, if you're talking about the 122 teams, and we're going to say the most iconic is the Yankees, and then we're going to say what's number 2, I can guarantee you the Red Sox and Dodgers are probably on everybody's top 10 list. Yeah, maybe top 5.
Yeah.
And they're definitely on top 10. And this was a terrible World Series.
So go back to the launch thing. They're trying to launch the ball and hit home runs.
Right.
They're not trying to put a ball in play and get on base and play small ball. The Giants won all those World Series playing that small ball game. They had good pitching, but the thing was they were able to manufacture some runs by getting guys on base.
And that's how
nobody was doing in that game. They were all trying to hit home runs. If you watch, everybody's swinging for the fence.
Yeah.
That's why it lasted so long.
Well, yeah. I mean, look how the Royals came back against the A's in 2014 was speed.
Yeah.
Gore and Kane and everything, they got on base and they started stealing bases because Lester cannot pick somebody off. And all of a sudden it's like, how do you come back from a 4-run deficit in 3 innings? Against a pitcher that potentially could be a Hall of Famer someday. Well, you exploit his weaknesses, and that's exactly what the Royals did, and the A's lost.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you weren't seeing. And pretty much for the last couple of years, honestly, in baseball, you're just seeing these launch angles and shifts, and nobody wants to try to. Man, I'm telling you what, if I'm a left-handed hitter and you put that shift on me, I'm dropping a drag bunt down the left field line.
But those guys don't want to do that, Ben. They want to hit the home run.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. If I had the talent to be a major league player and I was a lefty, you tell me somebody like Pete Rose wouldn't exploit every shift. Man, he would be hitting 600. That man would have had 7,000 hits.
Rose, Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, George Brett, Ichiro, and Wade Boggs.
Did you say Boggs? Yeah, Boggs.
Yeah, those guys would murder the MLB right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Straight murder them by just putting the ball in play. Pete was a magician with the bat. The guy could put the ball wherever he wanted to. Teddy Ballgame could. Gwynn could. They was just
one of the greatest quotes was Joe DiMaggio had ulcers, Ted Williams gave ulcers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I agree here with Chris here. He says I miss the days of the leadoff man on steal second and sack bunt over the third. Yeah. I miss that. I miss that baseball.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
sometimes these teams don't know how to play that type of baseball, and that could win you a World Series. I don't know. It's frustrating.
It is. The analytics part is getting far too.
Oh, and hold on. The analytics stuff with Dave Roberts, and they started those all right-hand lineups, and they didn't play Muncy, and they didn't play Bellinger, and they were playing Jock Peterson, and they're playing Chris Taylor, and these other schlubs that haven't done anything, and they were going over, and you're wondering why you're losing World Series games.
You know, it's one of the old saying, dance with the one that brought you, or dance with the one you brought, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's I always subscribe to the theory, and I've mentioned it many times, and I'm sure this won't be the last, but the numbers always lie because of it being interpretive and the fact that it's human eyes that are interpreting these numbers. And so 2 + 2 will always equal 4, but people are going to look at it and try to manipulate why it equals 4 and justify it. And it's one of those things that baseball's gotten to the point where analytics is almost too smart for its own good.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to do the all right lineup. And that's exactly why Wade Miley pitched 5 pitches in the first inning against, the Dodgers, was because he's a lefty, creates an all right-hand lineup, and then boom, he hits one batter, and then you bring a right-hander in. Because now you can't, this isn't football, this isn't basketball, this isn't hockey where you can put your second line in. You can't play small ball. It's not like, oh, right-hander in, let's go with our left-handed lineup now. No. That was perfect by Craig Counsell. They lost the series.
But Miley pitched the next game?
He pitched the next game, and that was it was such a
FU. I love it.
I loved it too. It's just like, you know what? Screw you, Dodgers. I don't care if you win or lose. Here's the deal.
And the other thing, real quick, and this, I know we're getting into a sports topic here, but how dumb, dumb's a mean word, but how not smart was Dave Roberts when he went out, or and Rich Hill too, when Rich was dominating and he goes out just to check on him, and Hill just hands him the ball and says goodbye, leaves.
Yeah,
Roberts wasn't going to pull him out of the game. He just wanted to come out and see how he was doing, and then Hill just hands him the ball.
And then you get Baez that got pulled after 2 back-to-back strikeouts, and then Madsen. Ryan Madsen's such a joke, but yeah, without getting into, we've already gotten far into sports, but the whole.
But yeah, talk about bad managing. I loved it when Don Mattingly was their manager, and he was there playing the Giants. I just love when Dodger managers mess up. He went out to a mound visit to talk to a pitcher, forgot something to tell him. He was halfway back, but he'd crossed the baseline, turned back around. It was the second mound visit. They had to take him out.
What I know this is sports and not trading card, but think about this for a second. It is kind of trading card related, because what happens if the Dodgers play that whole series a little different and they win? Now that affects the collectability of Kershaw, who now has a ring, and maybe Bellinger and Seager and Machado and Turner and some of the other guys as well. But
Brian Dozier.
Brian Dozier finally gets his ring, and my boys Rick Honeycutt and Bob Guerin on the bench. But think about that. Kershaw does not have a ring. And if he wins that series, he now has one. We can now argue, does that increase his collectability or not? Maybe we say that for another day as its own topic. But yeah, it is trading card related to a certain degree, So,
yeah, I think they win that. If they win a World Series, it was despite Kershaw being on their team, because his postseason.
His numbers aren't as bad as everybody would like to think.
Postseason record.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So on to, it's just funny. This is the yesterday was. God, I don't even know how to do math that high. It's the anniversary of something pretty big. And it was the 77th anniversary of Mount Rushmore being completed.
Yep.
And everybody's doing Mount Rushmore stuff, and everybody talks about sports and Mount Rushmore. So we wanted to talk a little bit about it tonight. So take out your notebooks.
And I think it's actually had a Alan Ginter card, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, very nice. Take out your notebooks, sharpen your pencils, kids. We're going to have a little history lesson. So it's located, Mount Rushmore is located in Keystone, South Dakota. They started working on it October 4th, 1929. And it was completed October 31st, 1941. And it features Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abe Lincoln. So we wanted to talk about our Mount Rushmore collecting. We broke it down. Ben had a good idea. We broke it down in 4 segments. So we have a pre-war, which was anything before 45, as we have the Topps Allen and Ginter Mount Rushmore card. What year is that from?
2015.
2015. You can get it for $5 on ComC.
And for what it's worth, there's a 2018 Upper Deck Goodwin Champions.
Oh, nice.
Piece of a map.
We also have the second section is going to be 1946 through 79. The third is 1980 through 1999. The final is 2000 to current.
I put my answers in there.
I saw. Thank you. And so we all picked one, and then we left a spot open so we could argue a little bit. I thought it would be fun. So, Steph, who was your pre-war guy, pre-1945?
So it's
Who's
a
on
bit
your Mount Rushmore of collecting?
It's a bit of a homer pick, but you really can't not go with Walter Johnson. He's not like Babe Ruth, where his earliest years there's not really many cards. Sure, the same for Walter Johnson. You got the T206, T205 runs, but he's been featured throughout the years. I mean, he passed, I think, in 46, 49, somewhere in there. But he's had cards issued all through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and certainly through the 90s, the junk wax era. But he has some huge issues. I mean, that iconic T206, like I mentioned. The 1914 blankets issue is underrated. I'll pull up a picture here in a second. Essentially, instead of a box for the cigars or tobacco products, they had it in this little felt wrapper. So the felt would be wrapped around the tobacco products, and you could peel it apart. And the reason they're called blankets is because people would sew them together, all of the individual stuffs. But really underrated, looks great, and that'd be my pre-war pick.
Nice. So, Benjamin, who's your pre-war guy?
I got to say, Stefan and I, when we first met on Twitter, kind of bonded over Walter Johnson. I'm a huge Big Train fan. I think he's the greatest baseball pitcher of all time.
And I'm pretty sure he's from Kansas, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
I love Big Train. He's one of my all-time favorite players. So I cannot argue at all with that. I was on the fence with a couple of players, which we can get into in just a moment when we go for the fourth guy. I selected Ty Cobb, who had a decent presence. I mean, a lot of these guys are very limited prior to 1945 because there weren't a whole ton of sets after the tobacco run. You know, you had some Gowdy here and there in the mid-30s, play ball and whatnot came along, but pre-war is limited, so all these guys are going to have a very limited presence. But you know, Ty Cobb, along with Walter Johnson, was one of the original 5 inductees in 1936 into the Hall of Fame. So,
yep.
You know how it's one of those ones where no matter who we choose, we're selecting from a small group of guys here.
Right, and you're not wrong for any of them.
You really aren't. And you know, I would have definitely picked Walter Johnson had Steph not jumped on him. You know, and like I said, our affinity for him kind of brought us together as kindred spirits, you know, before we really realized that we're like, you know, brothers separated from birth.
So screen sharing, here's the 4 separated with Walter Johnson up top, and here's a blanketed form sewn together.
Those are great.
Yeah, those are some here. By the way, Walter Johnson from Humboldt, Kansas, which is in southeast Kansas. So
he got drafted out of Idaho.
There we go. My pick for pre-war was later in the decade. Now he could have gone either way into what we were, but I picked Teddy Ballgame, Ted Williams. You know, I think that's enough. I mean, he knows how awesome Ted is or was, and just his name and the team he played for and the career that he had. So mine was a pretty easy pick because I I knew like Ruth and Cobb and all those guys would have been there, but if I'm looking at all of them, and I like Teddy at all those guys. I just think sometimes he gets his due, but not the due I think he should have had. That makes sense.
Yeah, if he were on certain other teams, and more revered.
Just real quick, when we were talking about topics, this was really inspired by the late Willie McCovey, because I think McCovey kind of falls into that maybe next generation of Ted Williams, where they're Hall of Famers, they're iconic, everybody knows the name, but as a general rule of thumb, they're kind of forgotten about, and especially McCovey in this hobby, very underrated. So that's kind of why we wanted to do a topic like this.
Even now, I can tell you, living in Northern California, Giants cards have a premium. A's cards have a premium. Even Raiders and Niners cards have premiums. McCovey cards still sell relatively cheap for the player he was. He sells for 1/10 of what a Bays from the same set goes for. And he had just as an amazing career.
A fraction of even what Willie Mays has, let alone.
Yeah. And it's just, to me, it's crazy. So who's another guy that we missed out here? I mean, is it Ruth? I mean, Ruth has to be on the Mount Rushmore collecting. I don't think so. I'm going to play him. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because just the true number of cards that are actually like Babe Ruth issue cards, and they weren't manufactured in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and all that stuff. I don't know if he belongs on there. What do you guys think?
Ben.
There wasn't a lot. That's why I didn't choose Ruth, because you guys both selected your group for each era before I did. And that allowed me to select Ruth. And it's like, I just, my Ruth was there. Gehrig was there. But again, there wasn't a ton. It was almost one of those ones where because the pre-war era was so inconsistent and scattered, we almost had to go back. And I know, Tim, you didn't, but to the early guys, Tris Speaker, Honus Wagner, of course, has the infamous card. Walter Johnson, Nap Lajoie.
I almost went Honus just based on the fame, how famous his one card is.
But it's not something you can go out and get.
No.
And that's part of the problem. And then the other thing is he didn't have a ton.
And that's why that card's so valuable, because he basically didn't allow his image to be used on tobacco products, right?
And he's almost one of those ones where you have to set him aside. And again, he's one of the original 5 as well into the Hall of Fame.
Original 6.
Who would you put as a 6? Gehrig?
No, wasn't there 6 in the original
class? There's only 5. Johnson and Mathewson, Ruth, Wagner, and Cobb. There's only 5. Gehrig got in as a special a couple years later in was it 41, I believe. But I mean, if we're going to add a 4th, I think we would have to look to Wagner, maybe Gehrig. I don't think even guys like Lajoie and Speaker have enough following. I think they're extremely underrated. But when we put our 4 pre-war guys, I think it would probably have to be Gehrig or Wagner. Probably Wagner, just because of his iconicness, if that's a word.
Sure.
Yeah, Wagner would have been my guy if I would put 2. So 1946 through 1979, what a great year. Steph, who was your guy?
I'm going to go with the all-time 1960s home run leader. Not Mantle, not Aaron. Harmon Killebrew. Bit of a homer pick, sure. But has some really iconic cards, especially 63 comes to mind. 62, the in-action type card. 68, 69 even. Some great cards issued. Not as much. He doesn't have a Fleer issue, but some of the Bazooka cards are sought after. And it just played the right way. Has an awesome signature if you can find one of those that are signed. And it's just a great all-around player. Maybe not so much in the field after his several leg injuries, but it's one of the legends of the game. So,
Ben, who is your guy?
It's funny. Killebrew, the Beatles sold the most albums and had the most success in the 1960s. Who was number 2? It was the Herman's Hermits, which a lot of people aren't going to know. It's funny because Peter Noon, the lead singer, is actually in Sacramento tonight at the Crest Theater. But Killebrew is another guy in the 60s that led a lot of categories that people aren't going to be the first one to think because of the guy that I'm going to mention, as well as Mays and a few others. My pick was Mickey Mantle, who's probably the outside of the Wagner card, Mantle is probably the king of trading cards, mostly because of the iconic 52.
Well, he is. If you're putting one together of all-time baseball card guys you collect, Mantle is far and away on the Mount Rushmore, and then there's 3 other guys with him.
Yeah,
It's like Jordan in basketball.
It's almost like Wagner. Wagner and Mantle kind of are 1 and 2, just because Wagner is T206, and then you can kind of go from there and discuss, But if you want to leave Wagner off, Mantle is definitely, like you said, he's got to be on there. And there's no way we could do a segment like this without one of us selecting Mantle.
Yep.
Sure.
And he was a thought, but I went back here. I went with Willie Mays.
Who was the better player?
Yeah, Willie Mays. If he played today, if Mays played today, 500, 600 million, 700 million. I mean, is there a number? The first $1 billion player?
They did an article about that a few years ago with Ruth and Mays and Mantle, and I think Mays was like 575, Mantle was around 450.
Yeah, I mean, you say the name Willie. I mean, say, hey kid, just amazing baseball player, great ambassador to the game. Like Mantle was missing for a year because of some legal issues, right? They retired, but very collectible, and just
Willie
Hayes. When you think of the Giants, you think of Mays, and then hopefully you think about Mr. McCovey. But who's the guy that we missed? Who should be our 4th one for this time period
that we didn't mention?
There's going to be a guy. See, now you said Ted Williams in pre-war.
Yeah,
because you can almost push him into the vintage era.
Yeah, because his career fell right in the middle. So because we've already mentioned him, we're going to set Ted Williams aside. But Nolan Ryan's a guy. His 68 got an iconic rookie card, has value all the way through the 70s. But he's another guy like Ted Williams, which is going to be in our next segment. He could be one of the more popular guys throughout the 80s and 90s as well. So
names for you.
Who do you think it should be, Steph?
I mean, obviously didn't mention Hank Aaron, although we mentioned him in the discussion, but Frank and Brooks Robinson.
Yeah, the Robinson and Hank Aaron. One of those 3 guys, I wouldn't have a problem with any one of them. I think Hank gets it a little bit to me.
Sure.
And then Frank and Brooks are right there. Brooks like the 4th or 5th best third baseman of all time.
Maybe even.
We also have to mention Duke Schneider, who's completely underappreciated and had a lot of great years in the 50s.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say that he's more collectible than, say, Nolan Ryan or Hank Aaron would be. I think that's the 4A, 4B right there.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to our lifetimes here, 1980 through 1999.
Some of yours.
Steph, who was your pick?
So I was thinking about it. I didn't want to be too much of a homer. I did have initially Kirby Puckett, but
well, that's because I picked. I knew you were going to go Walter Johnson and Killebrew. I said you were going to do Puckett, and spoiler alert, he did not go with Mauer, but he did have Puckett here for a minute.
I did, but the more I thought about it, it's more of a homer pick. I mean, his Game 6, 91, and Game 7 heroics aside. Outside of the entire state of Minnesota, I don't think he gets the love that he deserved so much on a national level for a few years, sure. But I decided to go and change my vote to someone who Ben rather just kind of shot me in the foot over. Nolan Ryan, still collectible. It's a little bit more overproduced in the end of the decade. Again, junk wax era. It's a thing, but he's had some really good cards through the early part of that decade span that we're looking at, 2 decades. Career wrapped up in 94, Hall of Fame, first induction 1999. I mean, and we've mostly selected hitters, so I kind of felt right picking a pitcher. And I mean, if you're going to choose one, I mean, you could have chose Nolan Ryan in the 46 to 79 range, but he was also good with the Astros and Rangers. So, I mean, outside of the players that I have signed balls for that play for my team, I have a Nolan Ryan signed ball.
If you're going to put Ryan on this Mount Rushmore of the junk wax era, then that's when Hank Aaron gets solidified as the number 4.
Absolutely.
During the vintage era, because Nolan Ryan is a perfect example. of somebody who basically splits the uprights perfectly. He's got 12 on one side and 14 years on the other side.
Right.
So there's no, and Nolan Ryan definitely deserves to be on there just because of, his longevity and the fact that he's collectible pretty much any year from 68 through 94.
Yep.
So
Ben, who was your pick?
I was on the fence between two guys. I'll mention the other guy when we get to that fourth guy, but the guy selected was Ricky Henderson, a little bit of a homer, but his early 80s stuff was very, who else is in the 1980 top set, right? Kirk Gibson, 81, he was still there along with Nolan Ryan. Henderson and Ryan held steady pretty much throughout every year. 80, 82, 83 was when you started to get a lot of competition in the set. Once you started getting Boggs and Sandberg and some of the other big names started coming in 83, and then 84 and 85 really shot up with a ton of that like really from 77 through 83, there's not a ton of talent. Winfield a little bit, Ozzie Smith a little bit here and there, Ryan. That's why, for me, Henderson,
Robin
then he
Yount,
became a Yankee.
Paul Molitor.
Then he became an A
He's
again.
talking about, I think Ben's point was he was talking about iconic rookie cards from 77 through like the 82. I mean, you have 82, you have Ribbon. I mean, think about it, like 81, it's Harold Baines.
Yeah. If you're looking at, like, say, the 1987 set, which we all love, and say, okay, who's your rookie cards? And we can go, okay, well, you got, Canseco's non-update rookie, you got McGuire's non-USA rookie, you got Larkin, you got Bonds, you got Maddox. There's a ton of boys in that. McGriff. You can get 10 to 12 names deep.
Jackson.
How about 1981?
Bonds.
Yeah, 1981. Who's your,
It's Harold Baines. I mean, with my binder sets over here, like I picked the most iconic, probably, like a rookie card that was iconic in the set, or if there wasn't one, then I picked a star from that. And in 81, it was, 80 it's Henderson, 81 it's Harold Baines, 82 it's the Ripken where he's on with the two other guys, 83 was Gwynn, 84 Mattingly, 85 I probably have the wrong guy, Clemens.
You do.
86 Cecil Fielder, 87 Bo, 88 Glavine, 89 Randy Johnson as an Expo. This is not the traded set, so there's some other rookies in 86 that you might pick on that's on the traded set. So, yeah, I mean, you have to think that Ricky early on in the 80s was, and throughout, because damn, he played 20.
He played that entire window of 80 through 99, and he was an A for the first half of the 80s, but then he became a Yankee, so he became collectible on the East Coast from 86 through 89 when he ended up coming
played for
back
everybody
to
after
Oakland.
that.
Yeah, I mean, shall we talk about his days as a Padre and a Mariner?
Yeah, Red Sox.
Yeah.
So was he a Dodger? Didn't he play for all the California teams?
He did. He still has the most iconic McFarlane figure where he's got the 11 helmets.
Yeah. My guy didn't play all that much. He played about half the time less a year, and but has probably the most iconic swing. And this way, put my hat on backwards.
That was going to be my pick, but
Ken Griffey Jr.
Yep,
the kid. 89 Upper Deck. I mean, card one of the first year of the set, of an iconic set. Just there's not much to say. I mean, it's Griffey. Everybody back then collected Griffey. You wanted Griffey.
Yep.
I could have gone Homer and said George Brett, but I know that's not true. Can just give me honest there. But Griffey was one of those guys you always, hey man, you got a Griffey. Like I'm looking for Griffey. Even I don't care. Like I don't even like the Mariners. But I want Ken Griffey Jr. cards.
You're in one of 26 cities collecting baseball cards. You wanted a Griffey.
Yep.
From 89 to 91. Yeah.
You didn't care what set it was from. You didn't care anything. You just wanted a card with Ken Griffey Jr. on it.
That was the biggest lemming style, sheep. Somebody wanted Griffey, and he became iconic because of the 89 Upper Deck. Therefore, everybody wanted him. And to this day, again, if we're talking about top 10 baseball cards of all time, since we've kind of mentioned that before, it'd be hard pressed to take a baseball card collector that doesn't throw that on there along with, the 68 Ryan, and obviously the T206 and stuff. But Griffey's making a lot of short lists there.
Yep.
And I mean, even outside of the hobby, because I wasn't quite as old as you guys were in '89, but I remember his Super Nintendo and Genesis games.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of those even came with cards. But it's just a huge cultural phenomenon around him, kind of like certain Angels outfielder currently that plays the game.
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, not quite.
Cool.
So who's our fourth?
Yeah, who do we miss?
So there was a guy that I strongly considered without going to Henderson, who, Tim and I being over here on the West Coast, growing up in the mid to late 80s, you couldn't walk in an LCS without somebody wanting to collect Don Mattingly. He was a very, very collectible. And yeah, we've talked about his career in the past, and we talked about him quite a bit when Topps Living released his card, but I don't know if he was quite as iconic, but we've already got Griffey, Henderson, and
Nolan
Ryan on there. Who do you put as a fourth from that 80s to 90s? Mattingly's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you also have I would say Sandberg and Gwynn, possibly A-Rod.
That's kind of where I was going to go.
And yeah,
with the two that retired together in 2001, Gwynn and Ripken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of go hand in hand. So I know A-Rod kind of spans into the next decade, which is 2000 to the current. Steph, who was your pick here? You have two lists, and I'm only going to allow you to take one of those guys.
But it's similar to Gwynn and Ripken retiring in 2001.
I know. We can pick one, and we'll talk about the other as the fourth.
You really can't split Ichiro and Pujols. Their 10-year run, Ichiro with his 200 hits and Pujols with his 30, 100, 300. And probably because of that, I'll probably pick Pujols. I mean, the machine. It just absolutely bulldozed balls. I mean, think not like that. Think of Brad Lidge in 05. That just titanic home run he launched against the Astros. Huge hobby. Everyone kind of wants his 2001 Upper Deck number 295. 285? 95. Just a huge name in the hobby, and for 10 years running, both of those guys were kind of 1A and 1B.
Yeah, they were the guys you wanted to collect. They kind of brought the people back into the hobby after the junk wax era. These two kind of drove people back into collecting when they were in Bowman Chrome in 2001. I mean, these guys were hot. Ichiro was a big name, and Pujols, man, that kid was playing third base, outfield, first base, because they had McGuire still, and he was all of a sudden this guy out of nowhere that was just crushing the ball. So it was must have been a fun time in St. Louis. Think back. In 2001, you had Kurt Warner, who came out of nowhere a couple years before, had the greatest show on turf, and you have Pujols and McGuire. I mean, and that's just a great sports town in the first place.
And you're only a few years removed from Gretzky playing with the Blues.
Oh, yeah. In that one game with the stick and the puck. Benjamin, who's your guy?
So when we all selected these kind of in private before the show aired, I'm not going to step on yours, Tim, but you mentioned a guy.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, if you want to go first, that's fine.
Yeah, I went easy. I went Mike Trout.
Yeah, I obviously he was going to be the easiest.
The dude is our Mickey Mantle.
Right. Absolutely.
Every Mike Trout card I get, I pull. I have a pack, whatever. It goes and it's just a thing I do. Like it's like when I grab the Royals and the Giants out of packs I open, every Trout gets pulled out and make sure I put it with the rest of my Trouts, and I just put them in a box. It's listed Mike Trout.
Yeah, it's one of those that as I just finished moving, I swore I had one more set of 2011 Topps Update, and I'm finding that I don't. I wish I did, just for that iconic Griffey-esque, Mantle-esque 2011 Topps Update standout card.
And for me, there was 4 names that deserved to be on here. Trout obviously was number 1. Originally, Stefan had put Mauer, and so that led me to
that was me. I was joking.
Okay.
That was me. Well, I made up his list.
I didn't see that. I just saw the names.
Yeah.
So there were three names I was going to settle on. So because Stefan already mentioned number 2 and number 3 is in Pujols and Ichiro, I went with Bryce Harper, who I think over the last 20 years, those are probably your 4 names. You have Ichiro and Pujols that will go together. Now you've got Trout and Harper in this next, the next group, the second decade. Harper isn't the player that we've all thought he was going to be. Yeah, he plays balls to the wall, and that's going to lead to some injuries. And you say what you want about him individually, but he's just as iconic from a collectible standpoint. He's probably now more, not even 1B to Trout. Maybe he's a distant B, but he's right there.
Sure.
And if we're naming most collectible over the last 18 years, once you get past Pujols and Ichiro, then you get into Trout and Harper. I mean, who else would be in contention?
Yeah.
I got 2 dark horse picks for you guys. They started a little bit later into this time period. Joey Votto and Clayton Kershaw.
Kershaw.
Oh wait,
Votto was like a 6th, 7th, 8th guy on there, I think.
See, but that's the thing is you have the 4, right? The 4 we just mentioned, all right, Steph. So who are you taking off to put Kershaw on there?
I mean Harper, only because he's got that whole whole blue about his 2012 rookies.
When you look at like Topps Throwback Thursday this year, Harper's got like 13 or 14 cards. Kershaw's got like 7.
I would, but
where's Aaron Judge? And my other question is too, a guy we really didn't talk about that falls between the last two, Derek Jeter.
Nah.
See, but that's the thing is I think that the hobby, full disclosure, I didn't collect during his career. The latter part, of course, but not during the meat of his career. I think he's going to be one of those guys that history's going to kind of look back and go, yeah, maybe we should have collected him some more.
It's one of those that, outside of New York, why would anyone else want to collect his cards? Not saying that he's not a great player and he has his 3,000 hits and all of his World Series accolades, but I mean, I don't see Joe Schmo in Kansas City just rushing out to get a Derek Jeter 1999 card.
And that's the thing is like right now, the reason I brought up Throwback Thursday is because it's a print on demand set.
Right.
When you're looking at building a checklist, if you're Topps, who are you putting on there? It's like automatically you're going to have Trout and Harper on every checklist before you get to anybody else's names right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I picked Harper was it doesn't matter if you personally collect him. He's a collectible name in the hobby. And if you're the 11-year-old kid running into the trading card store, you're going to want Trout, but then Harper's going to be on that short list with maybe, Judge and Acuna right now and possibly Ohtani, Bryant over the last couple of years, 15, 16. It's not that any of these guys aren't collectible. It's just, it's hard. You're narrowing it down to just 4 names over. Sure. I mean, look at the vintage window. We said 1945 to 1979. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot of names aren't making that.
One Mount Rushmore I'd have would be Strasburg and Kyle Schwarber. Guys like that too. You can put Kevin Moss on that one.
But now, of these time frames, who do you put as the top 4 of the all time?
Well, I mean, I guess you have Mantle and you have Trout, and then
those are givens. Yeah,
the other 2 we could argue about for about 6 or 7 hours.
Griffey Mays.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
Well, no, because if you're taking Mantle, then you're not taking Mays. You'd almost have to put Wagner. This is my opinion. It'd be Wagner, Mantle, Griffey Trout.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's
not really a wrong way to go.
No, absolutely not.
No, that's fun to debate. And what was even more fun was we didn't discuss this really. This was one of those things this afternoon. We're kind of like, hey, let's talk about this today.
Yeah.
This should be fun. And so without putting a lot of thought into it, sometimes that's the best where it's kind of raw.
Yeah, I love it raw. Sushi, pokey. Guys, thanks for joining us again. I know it was a Thursday night, kind of threw everybody off the last 2 weeks, but next week, remember, we'll be live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and review on all of the platforms, YouTube, iTunes, Stitchers. Let us know how we're doing. Follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. Follow Ben at Our Trading Cards, and hopefully he'll block you, and then you can join the millions that he's blocked. Follow Steph at Junkwax Twins, and you can also follow me at Big Shep 79. I'm almost to like 1,000 followers. I know it doesn't sound like a lot for the two of you, but we started this show. I was barely at 500, so
you're almost up to the amount of people Ben's blocked.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
I'll never get to that number.
It's a slow week, guys. I haven't gotten in a Twitter argument for like
it's
4
been
days
nice.
right now.
It's been nice.
It's pent up. It's toxic.
I'm waiting. It's going to explode soon. So Twitter beware. Ben's going to blow someday soon. But guys, do you have any final thoughts tonight as we close up show number 20? Almost able to drink.
We are, and maybe we'll have to next week if we mention Brenton Becker. But no.
This is the longest we've went without mentioning our friend Brent.
I think it is. I really think it is. No, I hope you guys have had better weeks than I have. I look to be much better and better spirits next week once this cold gets out of me. Hope you guys have a great week, and send us show suggestions. I mean, you guys want us to talk about this, that, or the other?
We love that.
Our Twitter mentions are open. Shoot it our way.
What's I think we were all a little, tired for this episode, maybe because it's been a long week. Halloween was yesterday. Steph's not feeling good. I think Tim's a little bit under the weather. You know what's awesome about this hobby, and I'll leave it right here, is this is why we do this. It helps us. We're all having kind of a week, not feeling good. We can look at our cards. We can play with our trading cards. We can talk about our trading cards. And I think it all takes us to a kind of like a safe space. It's kind of like this is our hobby. This is our language. This is our fun. We've met a lot of great people doing this. I mean, we've met each other doing this. And, as far as I'm concerned, you guys are lifelong best friends of mine. And that's what's awesome is I'm having a bad day. Let me look at my cards. Let me play with my cards. Let me get into my database. And I'm going to, drift away for a few minutes.
Yeah, melt away a little bit and have something fun and enjoyable. And it's nice to get on there and share. And, I noticed something this week where there was a collector that reached out and was having a hard time and said he was just like stressed out or whatever it was. And there were like 4 or 5 other guys that they're all fellow collectors that reached out and said, "Hey man, I'm here. Holler at me, DM, whatever, let me know." And that's great. That's great. Like everybody's there to support each other, and Ben has the great words tonight, and I truly believe that. I mean, this is what we do for fun, and like I said, I say every week, we appreciate you guys, and we do this to just have fun. And the fact is, other people are enjoying it and listening in, and are sad that they missed out. Like our friend Brian Weiss tonight, he was mad because he's not able to listen live and being part of the conversation, and that to me, that's awesome. That's a great feeling that people are like excited to see. I mean, hell, we got guys driving to work watching our ugly mugs, and I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, listen, I might be sued because we got in a car wreck because some guy's watching us on the phone, and my ugly mug pops up and it gets scared, and there you go, right? No, so that's just super cool because I do the same shit with podcasts and shows I like when I'm driving. I have a little spot and I'm listening to it, but I can look down when they're showing something, whatever. Driving dangerously, like to live wild, but it's the same thing that I do. But people are doing with our show. I'm like, what? Really? That's so awesome. We love you and thank you.
Like, we need to have another guest soon.
Yeah, we do.
So if anybody's out there and wants to come on for 10, 15 minutes, or hey, like Ryan did weeks and weeks ago, you want to sit and chat with us all night? Hey, we can. There's room enough for more.
Yeah,
this hobby is ours.
Yeah,
and that's what we love about it. This hobby brought us all together, but the friendships I truly believe transcend the hobby. It's what brought us together, but it's not what defines us.
Yeah, for sure.
God, we're getting sappy here, boys.
We're getting sappy at our old age
because we're tired and we're not feeling good.
I think it's just because there's a 0 at the end of the issue, kind of like a Topps card.
That's right. Oh, boy.
Well, this short printed episode is going to end, and everybody will see you next Wednesday live here on YouTube. Check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. Again, thank you so much, and have a great week, and keep collecting. See you.